As children loved by God, we should be imitators of God. But how can we imitate God, whom we cannot see? By imitating Christ, we can do so. Then, what is the greatest thing we should imitate from Christ? It is the love shown through His redemptive love on the cross. God desires that His beloved children walk in this love. This does not mean showing acts of love occasionally, but living a life that continually practices love. Such a life is both precious and beautiful. This is because it reflects the character of Christ. Christ's love is not for Himself, but rather a love that gave up Himself. This does not mean He was deprived of what was His without His will. His love is one where He gave up His rights by Himself. He granted this love to us, not because we deserved it. There is no benefit He gains from loving us. Even if He does not receive love in return from us, He still has loved us. It was not because He was bound by His good nature, leaving Him no choice. His love is His choice. God desires that we live a life that demonstrates His love. This is not just His expectation for us, but also His commandment. Disregarding or refusing it goes against the nature God has given us. Even as the Lord spoke about His upcoming death, which was drawing near, the disciples were still caught up in arguments over seeking higher status. The Lord called them, washed their feet, and urged them, saying, "Do the same." He bestowed a new obligation upon those who had once lived according to their fleshly desires. The work that the Lord accomplished on the cross was a fragrant offering and sacrifice presented to God. For generations, the Israelites made sacrifices to God, which included the burnt offering, the grain offering, and the peace offering as sacrifices of gratitude. When these were offered, the sacrifices burned on the altar were described as a fragrant aroma to God. However, the sin offering and the guilt offering, which involved sacrificing, were not said to become a fragrant aroma. This is because they pointed to the sacrifice of Christ, who bore the sin of humanity. God could not delight in the fact that Christ bore the sin. Yet, Christ rose from the dead and, through this, became the one who conquered the sin. At last, His name was exalted, and His act of love became a fragrant aroma that filled not only the entire world, but also heaven. The grace of God that we have received is the blessing that Christ's desperate death has given to us. The daily joy we enjoy, God's consideration, His help that allows us to live today and face tomorrow, the freedom and peace we take for granted, our reconciled relationship with God, and even the chance to rise again after we fall. All of these have been given to us because Christ offered Himself as a sacrifice. Let us, who have received such sacrificial love, now walk in that love. Let us live by faith in the Son of God, who loved us to the point of giving up His body for us. With unconditional love, let us glorify the Lord and become a fragrant aroma to the Father.